your books so clearly describe lives that many people in our country don't see, but
Right.
that many people in our country experience
Are
on
living,
a daily
yeah.
basis.
Right.
You have lived
Mhm.
poverty, you have felt poverty,
Right.
you have
Yeah.
eaten or not eaten poverty.
Mhm.
I mean,
Right.
you have been poor.
Mhm.
And that, it seems to me, propels some of the language and scenes in your
Yeah.
work, both in the novel and in your
Mhm.
short stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I have basically like working class survivor guilt. And I think this is something that a phrase or idea that was first introduced to me by Dorothy Allison is like the poor kid who gets out of it, you know, gets to go to college or gets to publish a book or gets to become a professor or whatever. Like we're all carrying all of our loved ones who didn't get to do any of that. So there's a big gap between my life and my sister's life, you know, who didn't get to go to college and didn't get to go to college because I did get to go to college because we lived in a household where there were not enough resources to go around. There's not enough parental attention, there wasn't a good enough education, et cetera, right? And so what happens is it's like I call myself and my family, my sister Lisa and I are Irish twins. We're about a year apart. And I'm known as the fat twin in the house because, not because of my physique, but because I got so many of the resources and I had the personality that like took. It's a very Western kind of, is really a rugged individual. And I went out and I got something and I took it, but that would mean that someone else didn't get it because there wasn't enough to go around. So that's the kind of thing I'm interested in writing about these days. And
So when you change classes, as you have,
right. Yeah. Well, it's really, I don't know exactly. I haven't really gotten my head around it, except for to say that like the best metaphor I have for it is a kind of survivor's guilt, you know. And I've learned from a little bit of research that there are two different types of survivor's guilt. There's one about the stuff that you did do to survive, you know, you climbed over this body or whatever. And then there's the stuff that you didn't do, you know, and even though you've survived, you didn't help someone else survive or whatever. And I have a little bit of both, which is not to say that living in poverty isn't living. It's just so difficult. And I have a real problem with I see now all kinds of stories that we as a culture tell about poor people, that they're lazy or that they don't work hard or that they're not as smart. Those are all, of course, I don't think I can swear on public radio, but they're BS, those narratives about the poor people. And also the idea that you may be poor, but you're happy, you know, like I call it the mo money, mo problems narrative. Actually, mo money, less problems in America, like quite a few less problems. So there's a lot, American writers, you know, I'm not the first to say this, and I hope I won't be the last, but we are not good at writing about class. Even though because we think of America as a classless society. It's one of those myths that we need to like keep tapping on with the hammer because it's a total lie. You know, the idea that this is a truly equal society. I mean, we're taping this in a week where racial inequality is yet again cost, you know, just this week at least three men their lives, right? So it's obviously this isn't like the land of the free.
Is your concern about class one of the reasons that you and your husband Derek started the Mojave School where you grew up, near in Pahrump?
Yeah, it is. And the other reason is that I felt you know, when I first got my first tenure track job at a elite liberal arts private school in Pennsylvania, it was a clear right away that I could not spend 100% of my time in that atmosphere. You know, I felt like I was suffocating for voices and perspectives that would not make it ever to a school that costs $50,000 a year, right? So I needed, like I would spend 9 months in these elite universities, teaching at Bucknell, teaching at Princeton, teaching at the University of Michigan, and I love those jobs and I'm really grateful for them, but I need an antidote to the class isolation, right? Otherwise, I think it would be, if you don't see other people and other ways of life for long enough, they disappear for you, you know? And those are the people whose stories I'm interested in. I don't want them to disappear. And I don't want to be a kind of tourist class-wise, and I don't want to engage in like a poverty porn type of writing, you know? Like I want to sort of embed in the kind of places that I came from. I mean, mostly because that's a place I feel the most comfortable. So it's for me too. It's not, I mean, I hope that the kids who participate in the Mojave School get something out of it, but I think the real thing that keeps getting me out there every summer is like I miss it and I want to be out there. Both of my parents are dead. My sisters don't live in Pahrump anymore, and so I need a reason to get out there, and I want to talk to people, and the only thing I really know how to talk about is writing short stories and novels. So, you know, my husband and I, before he was my husband, we had this conversation. I mean, I've taught at a lot of, I mean, we're, you know, at the Sun Valley Writers Conference, which is an elite, expensive program, right? And I've taught at Swanee, and I've taught teenagers, I've gone to Breadloaf, and I recognize these as important places for a community of artists, but also exclusive, and a lot of people will never make it to those places, and I would not have made it were it not for people who cared about the stories of people like me. So I want to be one of those people.
You don't have to teach, potentially, right? You could just write. Why do you teach?
Oh, I don't know if I could not teach. I don't think I could, because I don't think I make enough money. I don't really know. It makes, this is not the most feminist thing I've ever said, but like my husband does all of the finances and everything, because it makes me cringe to like link up my writing and money, you know? Like I want to be able to be like, I want to write a 50-page epic poem, and I don't want to worry about if that's like lucrative or if there's a market for that or whatever. So teaching, in addition to being able to be a part of a lively, robust, intellectually rigorous community of artists, whether it be here or at the University of Michigan or wherever, teaching also gives me a kind of freedom, like a financial safety net, you know. And I think probably growing up pretty poor, I think poor kids who grow up to be middle class either never stop worrying about money or they never worry about it at all. And I'm kind of in the latter, much to my husband's chagrin. You know, when we were dating, he would say like, if this relationship is going to get serious, and I hope it does, but if it is going to, you're going to need to start opening your mail, you know, or like you should probably know your credit score, stuff like that, like sort of a middle class ambassador coming and talking to like the working class kid who's like got a book deal and is like, like, yay, let's go to Taos or whatever, you know.